Good week, a good Friday, not just for the Indian markets but for global markets as well, because all of them performed well. We had our own positive news, and the EU summit dished out some positives for the global markets too.
Oh yes, we did. Almost a 2.5% gain coming in for the week. More importantly, like I said, the headline number, we closed in with gains at 52.78 for the week. The gainers included the likes of Tata Power, 11% notch up coming in. High Peter really came to play. So names like a JSPL, Tata Steel as well held out very well. And then of course, Maruti as well saw some moves with a gain of about 6%. On the decliners, or rather the laggards, Ken India did not perform all that well. So 6% cut, BPCL on account of the fuel price cut. So that took a hit of about 2.7%. And Tata Motors indeed were in the news flow with regards to the JLR volumes hasn't been all that great. So Tata Motors as well lost about 2%.
The mid-cap end of the market and the spectrum was dominated by what happened to some of the infra names, some mid-cap banking names, some mid-cap capital good names. So the Syntex, the Crompton Greaves of the world, some of the mid-cap infra names like a GMR, GVK, Lanco had a fabulous session, particularly on Friday, and that led to positive returns for the week as well. There were select losers, for example, an Onmobile. We'll talk about that in greater detail because there was an ET Now exclusive, and you will see what the damage that the story did to the stock, particularly in the last 2 days, and ending 21% off for the week, more so for the last 2 days. So there were a couple of sour spots, but all in all, it was a fairly buoyant week. It belonged to the large caps, yes, but there were individual mid-cap pockets which also did fairly well for themselves. The question mark really remains, so what to do in a market scenario which is looking fairly buoyant, not just for ourselves but for the global markets as well, by virtue of what came out of the EU summit. To talk about that, purely on the technicals, we have two eminent experts, Dr. C.K. Narayan and Sandeep Wagle, to speak about their sense of the markets. Good having you, gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining in. Dr. Narayan, what's your sense really? Friday's move, it was strong from the start and it only built up as the day went by. And normally you don't see such volumes on a Friday, the first day of a new series, but that happened as well. So participation was there, even in the large caps, even in the mid caps, excuse me. What happens in the week ahead?
See, such kind of moves are very typically when markets are taken by a bit of a surprise, right? So that clearly was the case here. And with, if you saw the Nifty OI position, for example, post the rollover, we had in the last month about 1.4 crores, 1.5 crore shares, and there was an expectation that lower amounts would get rolled over, but almost about 1.9 crore shares got rolled over. And if you look at the innards of the roll spread and the way the rolls got actually done towards the later part of the day, it was reasonable to conclude that a fair share of shorts also got rolled forward. And therefore, I think much of the day was spent actually closing out many of the shorts because their risk levels would have been definitely triggered, at least for the professional traders, that is. And in addition, I also see that there has been substantial new build in the OI. So after almost a month, all across June, in fact, we are seeing the OI now move progressively into well into the 2 crore, 2.2 crore kind of level, which suggests that fresh longs have also been built in today. Now there were heaps of triggers which need some follow through, no doubt, but I think that had suddenly reset the scale somewhat. And if you look at the option data, then you would find that aggressive additions has been there at the 5200, 5100 puts and the 5400, 5300 calls. So market seems to be getting poised for some upward action. In the early part of the week, definitely. It wouldn't surprise me to see the market open with yet another upside gap, provided there is no adverse sort of development over the weekend. But definitely, I think market seems to be in a state where if it gets past this level of about 53.10, I think we would head out to about 54.40, 50.
Sandeep, after a close above 52.75, what's the ticker indicating? Are these gains here to stay?
Very much so, I think. I think 5180, 5200 would be a base which will not be very easy for the bears to break on the downside. A little bit push by the bulls on the upside, we'll see that through. 5240, 5250 would be a great buying area for a target of 5430, 5440. First target being 5360, 5380, which I don't expect will be that great of a resistance. I see it beyond 54, and this is a view for the next week or two, or possibly 3. And in case we have a correction or a consolidation of a 50-70 points on the Nifty, I would treat that as a great buying opportunity for a 200 points upside. That is what I would say.
Maruti Suzuki, after the uptick that we saw on Friday?
I think it's a buy. It has certainly pushed past the immediate resistance at about 1164. I see the stock going towards 1220, 1225 in the coming week.
Sandeep, how about Tata Motors? Is there significant downside from the current levels as well?
Well, I won't definitely sell Tata Motors. In fact, last week we had a sell in Tata Motors DVR where the target has been met. We had sold around 138, 139. It is already at 131. I don't see too much of a fall beyond that. Tata Motors, if I would say it is sideways to a little bit of a downward bias. I mean, I don't see a breakdown of 230 and I don't see a breakout on the upside of 245, 246. So it may be within this range, and given the market situation, I really don't think it will be in for a big downside crackdown. I don't think so. And if you talk of the auto space, Maruti and TVS is looking very exciting. I mean, set for a 15-20% upside is what I would say.
Okay, and on that very subject, Dr. Narayan, the two-wheeler stocks, what would you do with them? Not just the TVS which shot up, but also Hero MotoCorp as well as a Bajaj Auto. So essentially all the three.
I think if you want to club all of them, the one I would pick and one that I would run with would certainly remain Hero Motors. I think Bajaj Auto, even though it has dropped down into support, does not really inspire too much of confidence. Hero Motor, every single time that it drops down into support, springs like a jackrabbit from there, indicating clearly that there are lots of interested buyers for the stock at lower levels. So Hero Motor is the one that I would want to run with. TVS Motors, okay, two-digit stocks would be the flavor of the season, early part of next week. So I think there could be some amount of buying there, but otherwise, I would want to run largely with Hero Motor.
A lot of pockets were extremely active, especially on Friday's session, wherein you saw some of the metal names, some of the power names, the capital goods stocks. So the JSPLs, LNTs, all of the large caps had some meaningful moves out there, and that's really where the crux of the volumes came up as well in trade. Dr. Narayan, let's start off with, say, maybe the infra and the power stocks. So Reliance Infra, some of the power names like an R Power or an Adani Power for that matter, maybe non-index, but a lot of large caps made a move. Anything that you've found interesting on the charts there?
Yeah, I think Reliance Power most certainly looks to be interestingly poised. At the price move which we saw today, which took it up to about 106, 107, I think that would be a kind of a breakout which can enable it to go towards 115 to 120. This has certain amount of, or not even certain amount, a large amount of following in the market. So if the market were to sustain and the interest in the sector were to remain, let's say, patent, I would think 115, 120 is definitely there for the asking. Similarly, Reliance Infra would also move up. I think they all move as a pack. Tata Power, it may take a little while. I think Adani Power is something which is on a recovery mode. At about 50 rupees, I don't think there is anything much to lose in this stock. So the stop in this would be very near and the gains could be pretty decent. So I would most certainly want to go long in an Adani Power too at the level of 50, 50 and a half.
Sandeep, what about the power ancillaries, REC as well as PFC? More upside?
Well, Aisha, yes. In fact, last 2 days that move was halted and it has again come back today. The bulls have come back and REC has again moved up by almost 7, 8, 10 rupees. I think 6% up. I do see some more upside in REC. I would talk of a target of 202, 203. So another, say, around 5, 7% upside.
Okay, one more large cap pocket. Dr. Narayan, were the oil marketing companies, wherein the news came in that they have cut their petrol prices by 2.5 odd rupees. But just that they did not participate in Friday's uptrend because of this news probably. Is there one amongst the three or all of these three that you would go ahead and buy, or you would stay away?
I think for the moment, they have been moving during the time when the market was not moving. So a lot of people may have already traded in them, lost money, made money, etc. And now a whole lot of other stocks are up and running. So I do believe that the attention may shift from your IOC, HP, BP trio and probably go into the other stocks, particularly the small two-digit stocks, which are typically in action when the market is very strong. So for the week ahead, I would think IOC, HP, BP would probably take a rest. We did see, in fact, BP as being a kind of a small loser even when the market was so strong. So I think that sort of tells us a story that they may at best sort of perform with the market, but I don't think they're going to be as charged up as they were earlier.
Jain Irrigation and a United Phosphorus.
Well, Jain Irrigation has been performing over the last couple of weeks. United Phosphorus as well. I see a very clear upside in both of the stocks and many more such stocks to the tune of 10 to 12 to 15%, which should happen in the next 4 to 5 trading sessions. So for me, every bit of a decline or a correction is an opportunity to buy, go long and play for a bigger target.
CK, just want your views on a couple of these commodity names, Tata Steel as well as JSPL. Do you see the same kind of participation coming in from Monday onwards as well?
Well, I think Tata Steel has been on a much firmer wicket as compared to JSPL. I'm not, overly bullish on JSPL. In fact, the entire Jindal group seems to be under a lot of pressure, and they give away too much ground when the market falls and don't really recover as much when the market pulls back. So I think that sort of situation will continue to dog the trends in JSPL. But I think Tata Steel did hit down into a pretty strong kind of support during last week when it dipped sharply below the 408.9 marks. And then it has pulled up pretty well from there. So I think immediate week, since we are sort of looking bullish, I would think 440 is definitely on the cards for Tata Steel.
A big drag in terms of the commodity stocks, but not by virtue of what crude did, was KN India. Some block deals, and that dragged the stock lower by almost 5% or 5.5% in Friday's session, and thereby 2.5% for the week. Sandeep, more downside, or you think KN could actually make a move upwards with the market?
More downside, but a limited downside. At a 307, I would talk of a 300 to 98 levels where it should find support. So I don't want to go short for that move. I mean, I would look at 298 in case it bounces back. You can have a very small stop loss and a upside of 320, 325.
Sure.